Once, in a small, forgotten village nestled deep within the woods, there was a legend of an ancient spirit known as the Whispering Shadow. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, warning children never to wander into the forest after dark. One stormy night, a curious girl named Eliza decided to test the legend. Armed with nothing but a flickering lantern, she ventured into the heart of the woods. The wind howled like a pack of wolves, and the trees creaked ominously as if warning her to turn back. As she walked deeper, the air grew colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped her. Suddenly, she heard a soft whisper that seemed to come from all directions, "Eliza. Eliza." It sent shivers down her spine, but her curiosity pushed her forward. The whispers grew louder, echoing her name in haunting tones. "Come closer, Eliza." They beckoned. Against her better judgment, she followed the sound until she reached a clearing shrouded in mist. In the center stood an old, gnarled tree, its branches twisting like skeletal fingers. Entranced, Eliza approached the tree. As she placed her hand on its rough bark, the whispers transformed into anguished cries, pleading for release. The spirits of those who had lost their way in the forest swirled around her, their faces twisted in despair. Panicking, Eliza turned to flee, but the shadows reached out, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. The villagers never saw her again, and the legend of the Whispering Shadow grew stronger, warning all who dared to enter the woods that some secrets were never meant to be uncovered. Years later, on stormy nights, the villagers still hear the whispers of a girl lost to the shadows, echoing through the trees, reminding them that curiosity can sometimes lead to a fate worse than death. As time passed, the tale of Eliza became a grim reminder for the villagers. They spoke of her in whispers, warning their children to heed the warnings and to stay away from the cursed woods. Yet, curiosity is a powerful force, and the story only seemed to entice the bravest souls. One summer evening, a group of teenagers, eager to prove their courage, decided to venture into the woods. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they laughed and joked as they made their way along the overgrown path. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced ominously among the trees. As they neared the clearing where Eliza had vanished, the air grew heavy with an unnatural chill. The laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy silence that sent shivers down their spines. They recalled the old tales of the Whispering Shadow, but their bravado urged them to press on. Suddenly, one of the boys, Mark, stopped dead in his tracks. "Do you hear that?" he whispered, his face pale. The others fell silent, straining their ears. From the depths of the forest came a faint sound, like a distant echo. "Eliza, Eliza," the whispers wrapped around them like a thick fog, and fear settled in their hearts. Against his better judgment, Mark led the way, drawn to the sound. They entered the clearing, and there it was, the gnarled tree, just as the legends described. The atmosphere grew dense, and the whispering intensified, swirling around them like a malevolent wind. The group huddled together, their courage waning. "We should go back," one girl urged, but Mark, determined to prove his bravery, stepped forward. "It's just a story. There's nothing to be afraid of." He reached out and touched the tree. Instantly, the whispers morphed into screams, a cacophony of voices pleading for help. The ground trembled beneath them as shadows erupted from the tree, swirling and coiling around the teenagers. They screamed, trying to escape, but the shadows were relentless, dragging them toward the tree's twisted roots. In their panic, they scattered, but the forest seemed to shift, closing in around them. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, as if the spirits of the lost were desperate to claim more souls. One by one, the friends were pulled into the darkness, their cries fading into the night. Days turned into weeks, and the villagers noticed the absence of the teenagers. Fear gripped the village once more, but the forest remained silent, hiding its secrets. The legend of the Whispering Shadow had claimed more victims, and the villagers whispered warnings to their children, ensuring that the tale of Eliza and her friends would never be forgotten. Yet, on stormy nights, when the wind howls and the trees creak, Some swear they can hear the chorus of anguished voices echoing through the forest, a chilling reminder that curiosity can lead to a fate entwined with shadows, forever lost to the whispering shadow. As the seasons changed, the village fell into a heavy silence, the weight of fear hanging in the air like a thick fog. The elders, once vibrant storytellers, now spoke little of the forest, their eyes haunted by memories of the lost. But curiosity and defiance have a way of igniting the spirit, and soon enough, a new group of villagers, teenagers, eager to uncover the mystery, began to plan their own expedition into the woods. Among them was Clara, Eliza's younger sister. She had grown up hearing the tales of her sister's disappearance, her heart filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. With a small group of friends, Clara resolved to venture into the forest, not just to confront the shadows but to find out what had happened to Eliza and her friends. On a moonlit night, they gathered at the edge of the woods, armed with flashlights, ropes, and a sense of purpose. Clara felt a pull toward the forest, as if it were beckoning her closer. As they stepped into the darkness, the familiar sounds of the village faded, replaced by the rustling leaves and distant animal calls. The group moved cautiously, their laughter quickly turning to nervous whispers as they approached the clearing that held the ancient tree. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, and Clara's heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. They reached the clearing, and the sight of the gnarled tree sent chills down Clara's spine. "Do you think they're really here?" one of her friends asked, glancing around nervously. Clara stepped forward, feeling an inexplicable connection to the tree. "We need to find out," she replied, determination in her voice. As she approached the tree, the whispers began again, soft and sorrowful. "Clara, Clara," they called her name, just as they had called Eliza's. Clara's heart raced. Was it her sister? Was she trying to reach out to her? She placed her hand on the bark, and in an instant, the forest erupted with a surge of energy. The air crackled, and the shadows coalesced, forming figures that were once lost to the whispers. Clara gasped as she recognized the faces of Eliza and her friends, their expressions twisted with fear and longing. "Help us, Clara," they cried, their voices a haunting chorus. "We are trapped." Clara's heart sank. She understood now that the forest had claimed them, but they were not gone, they were caught in a limbo, forever bound to the tree. The other teenagers, terrified, began to back away, but Clara stood her ground. "I won't leave you," she shouted, determination flooding her veins. With every ounce of courage, she closed her eyes and focused on the bond of sisterhood that connected her to Eliza. "I will free you," she proclaimed, reaching deep within herself. The whispers intensified, swirling around her, and Clara felt a surge of warmth radiating from her heart. In that moment, she understood that love could break the chains of despair. She began to chant the names of the lost, calling them back to the world of the living. "Eliza, Mark, Sarah, come back." The shadows writhed, and the figures began to emerge, their faces softening as they found strength in Clara's unwavering spirit. With a final, desperate cry, Clara reached out, and the shadows exploded in a burst of light. The figures of Eliza and her friends stepped forward, their eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Clara," Eliza whispered, her voice now clear and strong. "You've set us free." As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, the shadows dissipated, leaving behind a tranquil silence. The forest, now transformed, felt lighter, as if a dark weight had been lifted. Clara, filled with a sense of peace, turned to her friends, who stood in awe of the miraculous event. They had faced the whispering shadow and emerged victorious, but Clara knew they would carry the memory of those lost souls with them forever. As they left the woods, the whispers faded into a gentle breeze, a promise that Eliza and her friends would never truly be forgotten. From that day on, the village would tell a new tale, not just of fear and loss, but of love and courage that could conquer even the darkest shadows. And on stormy nights, when the wind howled through the trees, the villagers would smile, knowing that the spirits of the lost were finally at peace, watching over them from a world beyond the shadows.